All right, hello, Twitch people and fellow Entourage Gaming fans. This is Mephisto here, and we are here as Entourage Gaming with special guests Beaconfire and Gandork to talk about the transformation set that dropped yesterday. We'll go ahead and go around. First, to my left is Norman. Norman, you want to say anything?
Hello, folks. Good to be here.
To my right is Alabama man himself, Lanza. That's your cue, buddy.
Hey, what's up?
He was trying to be.
I was making sure it was on Facebook. I thought there was a delay also because I could hear it twice.
I'm looking at the stream and Lance is like half cut off.
Oh, so he is. I should fix that.
Yeah.
No, that may be an improvement. I don't know. Hold on.
I know, right?
Give me a
We
second.
can only
here.
see half a foot when he puts it up.
Yeah, let me.
Oh.
Let me go over this way. Oh no, this is this way.
Yeah.
Now Norman's half cut off. Hold on.
There I am.
Oh no.
There we go. There we go. All right. This is the kind of quality production
you
you get
go.
here from Entourage Gaming.
Roll
And then to my bottom left is Beaconfire, who has been playing in all of our Thursday tournaments.
Yep, it's been a lot of fun times. Appreciate
And
you having me on.
you're an official late night guy now too, aren't you?
Yeah. They needed somebody to beat up on, so they decided to let me come on.
And then we've got Nick, aka Gandork, from Art of History and/or the former poster boy of FFGOP.
Yeah. Yeah. Hi.
And King's Landing.
You're right.
Landing. And
And
my
a-
head's just stuck on this chair.
And occasionally he has a body, right?
Yeah, as my green screen can't figure out if my shirt's supposed to be changed or not.
So we are here tonight, guys, because as I'm sure most of you are aware, if not all of you, a couple of days ago, FFG dropped a print and play set called Transformations for Star Wars Destiny, which has some pretty cool stuff. I think it's a dozen cards or so, maybe a little more. I didn't count them up. I should have probably done that. And each one is a two-sided card. A lot of them, or all of them, have flip mechanics, and they also introduced the new team-up mechanic, which is a deck building rule. So Nick, or Gandork, I guess, since we got two Nicks here technically, you want to go ahead and take the rule type stuff about flips and team up and all that?
I suppose.
If you insist.
if you insist. God, I should have prepared and actually had like some of this stuff open. I actually I don't really want to read like word for word from the rule book.
Right, no,
People
no.
can-
No,
people
just
can
kind of
do that
explain it.
if they want. But basically, the point of this set and all the double-sided characters is that they're all various variation of cards that will go on your team. So like they're plots and characters generally for the most part. Now all of them have some sort of on their A side. They have an A and B side, and all of them on their A side have some sort of flip ability that allows you to flip them during gameplay to their other side, which will transform them sometimes into a more powerful character. Like Anakin Skywalker can meet some criteria that'll flip him and turn him into Darth Vader. Luke can turn into bigger, scarier Luke. Obi-Wan turns into his ghost, etc., etc., etc. So that's kind of the big mechanic of this little set. The other things that are kind of cool about it is that FFG was able to release this as a print and play set because all of the dice on all of the dice cards use a concept called parallel die, which basically means they're reusing a die from a previous set. Most of them are from like Awakenings dice, but there are some legacies and covert missions here or there. But yeah, basically you can play these all these cards with dice that you already own, just using them with a card that has some different abilities. That about covers it.
Yeah,
for like the high level area.
And of course, in our world of a pandemic, right? So many of us have been finding alternatives to real life play, and our boy Rebel Trader made sure that these cards were available to us in a digital format. So
Yep.
shout out to him.
Super quick.
Yeah, like in 20 minutes.
Yeah, because Lanza dared him.
We all dared them.
And then there's a team up mechanic, right, where you can reduce the points of certain
yeah.
characters on your team.
Yeah, so team up's just kind of like a new keyword that's included on these cards. Where basically whatever the team up and a number, team up X, I think as it is in the rule book, but whatever X is, they'll have a list of characters after it, and each of those characters is minus however many points the value of X is. So like, for example, the Luke A side has team up 1 for Obi-Wan Kenobi and Yoda, which means if you put Obi-Wan Kenobi or Yoda, any version of them, on your team with that Luke, they cost 1 less for their point cost.
Yep. So it just creates some kind of, I guess, the opportunity for thematic deck building, and which is kind of cool in a game where so often we want power instead of theme. This gives a way to give us power for playing theme.
Yeah, pretty much everything out of this set oozes theme, like just oozes
Yeah.
it. Which is one of Jeremy's favorite things to do. Like in all of Destiny, if you asked him, like Raylo is his favorite deck, and yeah, this set just reinforces that he loves thematic things.
Which
So-
is really funny because the reason why I got into the game a couple of years ago was because they hyped Destiny as the game that you could pair, Vader with a Tusken Raider, or these odd pairings for matchups and things like that. That's the way that they kind of advertise Destiny.
Yeah, that's Lucas versus Jeremy.
Yep.
different head designers have different ideas. Like,
But it's okay, Lanza, because you still get to play your Watto Palpatine. I remember that scene in the movie fondly.
uh-huh.
Yes, when Palpatine visited Watto in Venice, Italy.
Yeah, right.
Um,
Uh,
so Gandor, what's a couple of I know that there's a few people out there, and you know where I'm getting with this, but
Sure.
a couple of things that people may not understand that the casual players that may be printing it at home and things like that. What are a couple of things that you would like to maybe remind them as far as new rules and things like that
Oh,
like a common mistake?
Sure. First and foremost, as I'm looking at Anakin, when a character does flip, their dice that they had in the pool are removed from play. So, like Anakin, when you flip him, his ability triggers off him activating to, deal the 2 damage to a character and 1 to himself. And then if you defeat a character, he gets to flip into Vader. Well, flipping him is going to remove the Anakin dice that you just rolled out into the pool. They're going to get set aside, and then the new Darth Vader dice for the other side just get put on the character. And when you flip characters, they maintain, they keep all of their damage, they keep any upgrades attached to them in this case, and they maintain their exhausted status. So it's like basically you lose out on your dice for the rest of that turn, but you did get to turn into a big badass Vader.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the trade-off there. Like, I know some people have complained about it, but I'm like, without that, there's almost no drawback to trying to do it.
Yep.
So there had to be a drawback to some extent to some of these things. Some other stuff, the Obi-Wan Kenobi spirit and the captured bounty, you can't include these in your deck. Like, the only way to play these double-sided cards are on your team. So primarily you're playing the A sides, or if the B side has a point cost, you can run that as a plot as the B side. If it has a cost. So you can't run the demolition droid plot because it doesn't have a cost. Right. But yeah, so for stuff like Obi-Wan Kenobi Spirit, that can't be included in your deck. The only way you get it is to start with the Obi-Wan Kenobi character and use his ability to flip it. And then yeah, the same for the bounty. People have asked about that a lot. I know the wording and the way that we put it, we could have made it far more clear, but definitely just the intent and concept behind these is that you're printing them yourself. We weren't going to have you put home printed stuff in your deck for all kinds of issues. And yeah, but we could have made it more clear that all these were basically meant to be on your team, never in your deck. What else? I know there's something else that I'm missing. It's probably pretty important that now I'm forgetting.
All right. Well, go ahead.
The troopers. If you didn't read the rule book, you basically, for those, you get to pick which trooper you want. If you're playing the plot, you get to pick which trooper you want at the start of every game. It's not locked in for every game like if you went to a tournament. So at the start of every game, you can pick which trooper you want.
Because your tournament list just says the plot, right? Like your deck list. Right.
Yeah. Your deck list would just have the plot, and then at the start of the game, you'd pick which one
you
want. Because that's the only way it would actually work. Your opponent could guess it super easy if they, friend told you they had it last round, and that would just not be fun.
And you can switch in a best of 3.
Yeah.
Yes.
And sorry, I was just gonna say this will make a little more sense once we put the cards up on the screen in a bit. Go ahead, Nick.
And I was gonna say the absolute last one, we can talk about it when we get there, is actually a mistake on the cards. The United and We Stand cards should say then before the last sentence of both effects. But yeah, we can get into why that is when we cover it. But that was just a mistake.
Sure, and just so everyone else knows that's watching, at the end we are going to talk about the meta of what we anticipate will happen. Where these cards may fit in it. And one thing I do want to put out there that probably needs to be said ahead of time is that there was a new holocron as well that came out. It largely mirrors the holocron Gandork put out for the Out of History League that we adopted for Entourage weekly tournaments. Except that lizards are back, Trandoshans are back to 9/11. The dinosaurs will run rampant, so we'll talk about that maybe a bit towards the end.
Sure.
So I'm going to go ahead and start pulling stuff up on the screen, if you guys will bear with me for a moment. So I've got the cards kind of together so that we can see them. Let me see if I can fix it so that our faces are visible too. Actually, no one needs to see our faces.
Yeah, that's fine.
Not
Yeah,
really.
who cares about
I'm
us
ugly.
anyway?
Right?
So the first two cards I have up are the A and B side for Anakin and Darth Vader. Um, like Nick was saying, any card can start on the A side. Some cards can start on the B side, such as this Vader, because he has his own point values. So I know that Norm, you were having some success playing this very aggressive Anakin. So you want to talk about him a little bit?
Yeah, this is a really interesting, kind of way to play the game in general, because this is like we're looking at almost like the hyper aggro type again, on the verge of something kind of like Trandos on some level. And you can do some really interesting things with Anakin on his own, and frankly you can do some very interesting things just starting off with this Vader. I think it's very interestingly powerful, a lot of potential there, and probably stuff that we have not yet fully understood or uncovered or untapped. My general belief, though, overall, is that this Anakin is probably best in some kind of two wide, and probably with yellow. In particular, that gives you access to things like draw attention, or dangerous maneuvers, easy pickings, and basically stuff that will extend your survivability in ways that you don't exactly get as much in just straight blue. Uh, holding away, or given that steadfast is still a thing, of course. But I think this is really really wild, because the significance here is that, okay, if I have this 15-point character that eventually, if I can just burst down a guy quickly and turn him into this 21-point powerhouse, uh, that it also gains me 5 health right off the bat, that's pretty great. And then of course his power action, Vader's power action, is it has two different parts to it. You can either, well, remove all the shields from a character, or resolve one of your dice as melee damage, increasing its value by 1. And you get to do both of those if there's already a defeated character on your opponent's side. So therefore, if you've flipped Anakin to this Vader, well, that's established. So now you can do two really big things. Sometimes you could easily see swings of 4, 5, 7 damage, essentially through this one die resolution or one power action resolution alone. And so I think this is a really interesting card that just, I have no idea exactly where this is going to lead, but there's going to be some pretty cool stuff coming out of this, it seems to me.
Yeah, Beacon, have you gotten to play with these two guys at all yet at all?
I haven't focused on it as much. I know I saw Norm playing some last night, and Lanza had a pretty cool deck with it too. I have watched a lot of games too, either against myself or whatever. He's pretty strong, probably the best flip character in my opinion, just because both sides do a lot of work.
Yeah,
And like Norm said, that PA on Vader, I mean, no matter what you're using, I mean, that's 4 damage if they're shielded up fully. I mean, that could be 4. Well, I guess if you're playing against Yoda, it could actually be like a 7 damage swing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty crazy.
and
And
so, sorry, go ahead.
So I didn't make it explicit off the top, but we should keep in mind that the Anakin die is obviously the one from Covert Missions, and the Darth Vader die is actually the one from Awakenings. And so that's, if you've got those sets, that's how you build this deck, of course. And so that's, it's a pretty powerful dice on both sides.
And I know that you talked about pairing it too wide with yellow, and that's how I've been playing it too. And we are going to talk about or show some example decks later. But Lanza, you've been doing a rainbow version with Anakin, haven't you?
Yeah, I have. It's been okay. I mean, it was really fun yesterday. Today, it kind of fell on its face, but I don't know if it was just the matchups or what.
Pilot
I
error.
played it. Yeah, I just played it against Rebel Trader just before I got on, and it was pretty quick. Pretty quick game. I think we got done in about 15 minutes or so. But that one was the first one that I felt like did what I wanted it to do. He was playing an Afro deck with some first order stormtroopers and the new bomb plot. So yeah, a couple squishy characters out there, but just that that auto damage with the Hoth Trooper. So it's a Hoth Trooper. It's Elite Anakin and Elite Satine. Coach Bear Dog and one of our patrons, came up with the pairing, and I thought that sounded really interesting because of the the damage off the activation off the Hoth Trooper and off Anakin. So I wanted to expand on that. I probably took it too far with the titles with the rebellion leaders and the admirals, but I do like the admirals. I like being able to you know to flip Anakin and reset him and get extra damage to get him to that flip quicker. Or I had a game yesterday where I flipped him and then reset him, so I got Vader's dice out that same round. Um, we The game today with Rebel Trader, I pushing slash, which was cool. That's Norm's contribution to it. So paid one, pushing slashed. I needed 4 damage, I think. Yeah, I needed 4. So I hit one of the, no, I needed 3. So all I had to do was hit one of the damage sides. Um, I hit the 2, put the 2 into the stormtrooper, and then did the 2 for lethal and flipped Vader right there. So
Yeah, and
that was a pretty cool play. And then steadfaster in there also. So there's
yeah,
there's some sneaky stuff.
and we can talk about that a bit more with deck building. There's a couple of things I want to point out on these cards, particularly on Anakin. Anakin is not a May on his activation, so no matter what, you're hurting yourself, you're hurting someone else, and if you kill yourself activating, you get no benefit from it. Or actually, I'm sorry, you do get the benefit because it's an
You
AIM.
do get the 2 damage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you get the two
Yeah.
damage, but he won't flip and he won't survive. He will kill himself. And then particularly on Vader, pay attention that he is not resolve one of your dice showing melee, increasing its value by 1. It's in turn one of your dice into melee and
Any
resolve
die.
it by 1. Any die, any
Blanks and
symbol, any die.
specials, apparently.
Yeah, I mean a blank has a value of 0, so you would resolve it as a melee for 0 plus 1, which makes it a 1.
So stupid.
It's very powerful. It's just something to
dumb.
keep in mind.
It's so overpowered,
I was
man.
gonna say, nice with that Admiral die.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that Vader's power action has to make up for the fact that die is kind of trash in this day and age.
Yeah, no, I agree. Now it is
Sides, though.
it has no pay sides, but it's a 2 and a 3 for a 21-point character.
Yeah,
like,
and a 2 disrupt late game is like real bad, and you're probably late-ish by the time you flip round 2 or 3.
assuming you're not playing Vader to begin with, which we can talk about later.
Sure.
But let's, Nick, did you have anything you want to talk about those particular characters? I know we're going to talk a bit about fateful companion interactions later. Anakin's really strong with that plot, isn't he?
I think I don't know. He's an interesting.
Yeah, what's up with that mess?
That's a whole topic of conversation that I think we could get into later. But I don't know. I would just say the funnest thing I like about this Anakin, he's real glass cannon-y. Like if people are like, oh, you heal 5 when you flip. I'm like, nah, you flip, you just get the health back that you should have for a 15-point character.
Right.
Like,
Right.
you're not up on health, and you lose the die. So I don't know. It's a lot of fun. So.
Yep. All right. So the next two characters, A and B side, are both Luke Skywalkers. We have Farm Boy Luke seeking the path, and then we have Jedi Master or Jedi Knight Luke fulfilling his destiny. We can see, obviously, I don't need to read the whole card to you, but Farm Boy Luke's a 9/12, well statted for aggro at 12 points at least, and that he has 3 damage sides, even if they are kind of low. That's the Legacies die. And then we have Big Boy Luke from Awakenings with his what is really an underwhelming die for 20 points, but he has a powerful power action to make up for that. Have any of us played with Luke at all? I really haven't done much with him.
I know Vaunt said something about I guess they call it Baby Luke, but I don't know. I haven't built anything yet. I think that there's probably something nice out there. It's just everything that I look at with him kind of points you towards mono decks because you want to try to get maybe a discount with Obi or maybe the 12 health Yoda, but I don't know.
Yeah, he pairs well with Legacy's Obi at 19.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've played him. I've played him with that, and then with the which is it? The Convergence Yoda. Is that
the big one.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
There's a
the strap of battle droid to you.
Yeah,
6
so
health extra.
No, yeah. So I mean, it's the two big characters seem decent because I mean they Yoda can block for Luke, so you're not losing your shields, and then Obi-Wan can put the shields on Luke, which helps him keep it. And you can use the United plot with both of them. One of them elite and one of them not.
Yep.
He's interesting. I mean, I've flipped him. It's not super easy. And I guess the question on that, which I'll ask Gandork because this is a rules question. So it's after the upkeep phase begins, is that before I get my two resources or after?
Yeah, it's before. So after the
Okay.
upkeep phase begins, it's kind of like if you look at like tactical delay or improvised explosive that's after
Mhm.
the action phase begins. It's the same concept. It basically triggers and resolves right at the beginning of the phase before anything else would happen in that phase.
So you have to
Okay.
carry over 2 resources from the previous
Yeah,
round.
Wow.
so you have to have 2 resources, before you end your action phase in order to flip. You can't use your 2 resources from the end of the turn.
Yeah, and
A-
3 shields.
And I'll say this
Yeah.
about the Luke. I don't think the big Luke is. I don't know. I mean, yeah, he's 15 health, but his dice is so overwhelming or underwhelming. Sorry. However, his power action is automatically powered up, so to speak, if you do flip him from Farm Boy Luke, because his condition to get extra effects is to have 3 or more blue upgrades, which you would have from the flip. So this is a character where I really think if you're going to run him, you want to run the A side. I don't know that there's going to be too
Yeah.
much you can do starting with the B side.
And
Yeah, those dice are not worth 20 points.
well, the one nice thing about his flip though versus Anakin is you don't lose his dice because it's happening before you roll him out. So
Sure, but
that's
you're
kind
also
of the nice
yeah,
thing.
you're also paying too though. So I mean,
That's true.
it's give or take, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I do think I don't know. There's some people have been trying the B side with like Satine, and I think there's some. I think it might get some play. Like, there's a problem that you run into with. He's like so tanky to try to kill the big Luke first that they'll just try to kill your Satine, and then by the time they can kill Luke, he's going to be decked out and just wrecking stuff with his power action. So I
Yeah,
don't know.
though it's also I don't know. Like my issue with him with Satine is like you spend 2 rounds removing 1 or 2 of Luke's dice, and it just feels like you've done nothing because Satine is ramping you. But for a 2 wide deck
Yeah.
to do nothing but ramp is kind of questionable. Like depending on the
Uh,
meta. Well, when there's Trandoshans and other aggro decks running around, it just scares me to be that slow.
And the other problem too is he's got the one focus side and the resource, so he can be easy picked with Satine as well. So
Yeah. Yo, yeah.
right.
But so that's Luke. I don't. For me personally, he's not quite as interesting as Anakin or Vader, but that's also probably because I'm more of an aggro player than doing this
Mhm.
kind of blue, mono blue, or blue hero type traditional stuff. But I'm sure there's something that can work, especially with how low costed Baby Luke is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, like even the big one, I think you got to keep in mind like just being to be able to power action 2 shields and what that turns on in blue, and just to have it on a stick every round. Like I still think he could be relevant.
Yeah.
Maybe not once we start talking about the Fateful Companions bullshit, but outside of that, I'm like, guy, if you get some like the defensive teachings and you just pop some stuff, you get an Obi-Wan saber down on him, and you're just like, I'm gonna start blowing shit up.
Yeah.
I feel like that there's probably something here, even with a single die baby Luke,
Mhm.
to where you're gunning for essentially they're either going to be going after your big character that you're having on the other side, which might be any number of things, right? Uh, and then if they do that, you're powering up Luke while you're at it. And so by the time they get done with your bigger character, well, you're about ready to flip. You're about ready to go to town.
Right.
So there might be something there. And even in that case, like, okay, so what? You're getting, so you're at one of those dice that you already said you don't like. Okay. That seems all right.
Yeah.
But it's where the upgrades are that really are what's going to make that, phenomenal. If you're going to put like an Annie Saber on him, you'll put Dagger Mortis, you put Qui-Gon Saber or Obi Saber or something on him. Once you're up to that, I mean, goodness gracious, it's just going to be, it's going to get a little,
Yeah,
get a
like
little
no, like
crazy.
considering you could get Big Luke out for what might be effectively like an 8 cost character,
Mhm.
even if it is only single die. Yeah, that's
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of crazy.
Yep.
Tons of health.
Yeah.
Yep.
I
Just
think
gotta.
we have to figure out what's the right mix of stuff here. It doesn't, it's not immediately evident how to make that work.
Yep. Not agree with that. And then we'll move on to his mentor and one of the characters or one of the versions of the characters he teams up with for reductions. We have Obi-Wan and Dead Obi-Wan. I think it's technically called Obi-Wan's Kenobi's Spirit, but we just know it's Dead Obi-Wan Kenobi. So Obi-Wan Kenobi is a 9 or 12 point character. He actually has no dice, 10 health, and he is the ultimate protector. He not only has Guardian, so that when he activates, he can remove a die showing damage to take the damage to himself. That's an oversimplification of the Guardian rule, but I think we all know how it works. But he also has action where he can remove a die showing damage and kill himself to flip or level up. And he also flips or levels up if he dies naturally. If he happens to be a lead and you spent the extra 3 points, he actually removes a ton of dice. And then he turns into a support on the board that is basically the old one with the force die. Blue hero, not really my thing. Anyone got anything?
I mean, like, I want this to work. I think it's a really cool card. I like you know how I am. I like all the spirit cards. I think they're cool. Um, but I can't put my finger on where you would want something like. I think the problem I have with it is that when you're trying to build maybe like a rainbow deck or something like that, typically you want your blue and your yellow character to be, kind of driving the engine, and then the red maybe sometimes is the support guy or something like that. But I don't know. It just seems like you're giving up a lot for no dice. Like, I mean, what's like? I mean,
That's not entirely true though. Like
okay.
you're essentially you could almost look at him like you're getting an 8-point character that's gaining you a resource on a card a turn on some level. And and so hear me out on this for just a sec, right?
Okay.
Because basically what he's doing is it's like getting a one resource card that's going to soak up damage a few times for you. A one cost card like that's going to soak up something. Now, that's a little bit of an oversimplification, I'll admit, because then there's the aspect of the trade-off. What are you not getting instead?
A whole character.
Yeah. So
maybe I'm looking at this. Maybe I've been trying to push it I've been in a funk with this set for the last 24 hours, but maybe I'm pushing this at the 12, and that's not where it needs to be.
Oh God, no.
At 12. It doesn't seem like that's a good idea to go.
I'm not sure I'd play him at 9. Maybe he's an 8 with Luke. I don't know.
Yeah,
if they gave me 2 ghost dice, it would be good at 12.
His primary usage seems to me to be the to go with our good buddy, homeboy Luke. And that seems like the natural pairing there.
It does. My hard part is that I really want to play him in like a 3-wide support deck, but I don't want to play 2 blue characters in a 3-wide support deck. If I could though, he's great because I'm like he's gonna protect my other characters for a few turns. Then I'm gonna pop him up, and then I get this power action that's just like giving me a free shield.
Mm-hmm. So if you wanted to play a 3-wide support deck, you could do, and I'm doing the math in my head really quick. You could do like him, Elite Rose, and Elite Satine, and just pump out vehicles while he protects your resource engine.
Then I'm giving up the power action and the action though.
Yeah, because you have to spot another blue character to do something.
Well, sure, but he's still got Guardian, and then he still turns into the ghost when he dies. But yeah, he gives up the power action. That's true on his spirit side.
He gives up the remove a die on his action and the power action.
Well, he just gives. Oh yeah, because it's that blue character.
Another blue character to remove a die showing damage.
No, I understand.
He's awesome. Maybe he needs to be in a some kind of mill deck, possibly. I don't know.
Oh, there are definitely been people who've been talking about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he could work in mill as well. Well, if only there was a discard side on one with the force.
Yeah.
Because the 3 range is like the worst one. I mean, you could maybe R2. R2 maybe has some room in there, and then the top side of the spirits at 3. That seems good.
I mean, I guess that's the thing. I will play. I do want to play this with R2 because R2 can just flip to that 3 range, and he's a blue character.
The problem is you're not getting that benefit until Obi-Wan's dead. So like,
I'm building up a board while I wait, and then I go nuts.
I guess
you go Satine, Elite Satine, Elite R2, and Obi-Wan.
You're going to put every single indirect damage on Obi-Wan. You're going to soak up a die a turn, and so he's going to die on turn 2 or at most the early turn 3.
Yeah, the old man's going in the ground quick.
Yeah, you're gonna have that die from Obi-Wan Kenobi Spirit on turn 3.
Like, and most games are pretty much over by round 3. Even if they're not technically over, they are going one direction. I mean,
yeah, but you've now soaked up a ton of damage. Hopefully, you're doing more than that. As a result of what you've done there. So, I mean, I don't know. I feel like there's something to this, but I just don't know what it is yet.
Yeah. Well, let's send him back to the force.
Poem
And-
says elite Chewbacca, new Luke, single Obi-Wan,
And
and the
rescue
two
Han plot.
and the
And
rescue
the
Han
Han.
plot.
He said
Potential
that's
for
poem
44 help
Yeah,
That's
but
poem, 44
but how
health
do you
right there.
win? But how do you win?
by your opponent
By
giving
flipping
up.
stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
Your
that's
opponent dying of boredom. Got it.
Yes.
dying of boredom.
All right. Well, next we actually have what I think is one of the
Why
more.
do that? I mean, Poem, just do instead of elite Chewbacca, do a Jawa and a Marauder. That's what you like. So now you're 4 wide with you
With the
the
same
same
amount of health.
I know.
All right. So next we're moving on to what I think is a pretty what I do there, to a pretty interesting plot. Sweeper Droid Infiltration. It is your first elite plot, I think, in the game. Though there's a few of them in this or elite possible plots. So there's a couple of them in the set, 2 or 3. And this one is basically if it's elite, you get 2 of them. The action is you get to play an event from your hand to reroll a die and flip this plot, and then that's as an action. So you would play the event as an action, do whatever the event does, reroll a die, and flip this plot. Then on the other side, it's when it's as an action, you can play non-plot or non-event card, sorry, from your hand to deal 1 indirect damage to an opponent. And then if you have both of these out, as in it's elite and both flip, you can choose to destroy them both and deal 4 indirect, which is probably your finisher, rather than something you do the first time you have the opportunity.
Correct.
So
And if you do not, you flip it back over.
right,
And
and
you
just go back and
start it
forth,
again.
right, and it kind of lets you ping back and forth. So it definitely seems like something that would be sort of an Afra companion, some kind of indirect peppering plus Afra lets you cycle cards to let you keep that event non-event chain going.
Yeah. That's what Rebel Trader was playing. He was on. Well, I don't know if I should disclose. Well, I mean, he's on TTS, so the hell with him. It was double first order stormtroopers and Afra in this plot, and I will say that this plot is appropriately costed because it is very strong.
Yeah, it is.
Kind
Now,
of I call it the sleeper of the set because it's one of those that's not flashy on its face and like it hasn't gotten any hype, but it does things.
yeah, one of the things that's interesting about this plot is to maximize it, you have to build your deck in such a way that you are going to be able to alternate between events and non-events. That's not always something we necessarily think about. Like
Right.
usually, I think to simplify deck construction, it's like, I want 10 or 12 pieces of removal, probably 8 or 10 upgrades, and then I'll put a couple of utility cards in. And this kind of makes you really think about your balance in a way that maybe you had to think about it with neutral Anakin or neutral Han with your own villain cards and that sort of thing. So it does add another layer.
You, well, they're both droids, Poem, for your question. But no, you have to flip back and forth. Neither flip is optional.
It does not.
Well,
It is not a droid. What do you mean? I don't understand.
It's a sweeper droid and a demolition droid. So he said, "Can you just stay on the droid?"
Oh.
And I'm like, "They're both droids."
Well, I mean, you technically could if you don't use the action, right? But you
Yeah.
wouldn't get any benefit from it. So
Yeah, anytime you use the action, it flips. So on the demo side, you use the action, you can play your event and deal 1 damage. Then it's if 2 or more bomb plots are in play, you may set them all aside and deal 4 damage, indirect damage to an opponent. But if you don't set them all aside, you have to flip it back. Like that last part isn't a then; it is 100% required.
right, but
Well, I'm going to tell you the front side of this thing. It's nasty. I mean, you're talking about playing removal and then re-rolling a die
yeah,
for an action, and then
And
you're
the reroll
flipping it.
is any die, so
Right.
it could also be soft removal.
yeah.
It's bad.
Now, but to your point, Nick, if you're running 2 of these, I mean, you can action 1 and leave that one forever on the other side and just flip 1
Right.
back and forth, so that you can
Correct.
do the 4 explosion whenever you're ready,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
more
'cause
easily.
it's all an action that you do on each card. So if you have 2, you can flip 1 over and just leave it on the demolition side for when you're ready, and then just like you said, flip the other one back and forth forever. Now the real interesting thing is if your opponent's playing demolition droids, and I want to see someone play this match.
What?
The demolition droid side is you set all bomb plots in play,
my
yours
God.
and your opponent's,
Awesome.
and blow it up. So it's kind of this weird cat and mouse of like, You stick it, like someone could just be like, "Fuck this, we're blowing both of our droids up. We're done playing this game."
What?
But only
Wow.
the person who blows them up gets to deal the indirect, right? If I'm
Correct.
reading it right.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So
can blow mine up to get rid of yours, and I'll deal the damage, and then you're out your plot.
wow,
Gross.
that's
Yeah,
I mean-
Platform played a deck with us today too. It was Pyre and
Well, but it
Yellow, and I cannot remember who it was.
okay.
And but they would have to be on the demolition side. So if they're
Right.
sitting on
Yeah,
the sweeper droid,
so
you're
it's
fine.
Yeah,
So
Right,
like the
that's
first
true.
person flips their demolition droid and then just sits there, and then the other person like doesn't ever want to
Flips.
flip, because if he flips his,
Flip.
you get the first action
Wait.
to blow them both up.
This. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Well, that's a thing. That's a thing. Now, I will say, at three, it definitely seems that is a easy. I won't say easy, but something you could slip into a deck fairly simply, building around it. 5 points starts to take a lot, and
Yeah.
and when you really think about it, unless you're really good at juggling between multiple sides on both cards, really all you're paying that 5 for is the burst of 4 at the end when you're ready to blow up.
So you're paying two.
Or
Well, no,
two,
because
yeah.
you're doubling
Yeah,
up
sure.
on it. You can double up on the indirect and
Well,
by
what I'm
flipping two of them.
well, what I'm saying, Lands, of those, you're really only ever flipping one at a time, right?
Right.
So I guess really what you've got to look at it is, would you pay 2 points to do a delayed 4 damage? And the answer may be yes. It's just something to think about.
Yeah, I really like this plot.
All right, then the next one's going to be something really fun, and that is send in the troopers. And I'm just going to show the A side for
Oh
now
God.
because of space issues, because there are actually a B, C, and D version of this card. And quite frankly, the plot to me, while it's interesting, is the least powerful aspect of these cards, because the characters themselves, one in particular, may be a little busted, so to speak. But let's look at the plot really
So
quick.
to speak.
Yeah. So this is what Gandork was talking about earlier in the rules, that you can bring a different version of this card to each game in a tournament, or each game even within a best of 3. It's if you control the battlefield and 5 or more dice in your pool are showing damage, you force an opponent to name a character. You flip the plot into one of the 3 guys, and I'll show them up really quick here. And if your opponent named the right one, you get a single die, or a single point
Non-elite.
non-elite character. And if they guessed wrong, you get the elite version. And let me blow this up a little just so it's easy to read, if I can manage to do that without messing anything up. If I can click into the right, okay, whatever. That's as big as you get. You can squint. But so basically, there's 3 versions of these guys. They're all 8/11. 2 of them have 8 health, and for some ungodly reason, 5s is the one that gets an extra health. But they all are diceless, but have abilities that when they activate things, they interact with either dice on your other characters or with clone trooper dice. I'm not necessarily going to read through all of them. They're up there for you to read, and obviously, you can get them from the FG PDF. But first, before we start talking about the broken crap these characters can do, does anyone have any ideas? We are jumping ahead there. Does anyone have any ideas for the plot itself? Where you would pair it with, where you would fit it in?
Beacon had a deck last night, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, I've been toying around with it. I don't think it's as good as just playing the actual troopers. But I did win a couple games with it because it doesn't look like you're building that fast, and then all of a sudden you get an extra 8 or 9 health with 3 to redeploy weapons, and so I was just basically playing. I mean, it was more theme than anything. I had Cody, Rex, and a clone trooper with the plot, and I did switch it to some more supports because I found that once you have 3 upgrades down, people tend to die, and then trying to get that 5. But I don't get it early. I end up getting it late, usually like towards the right at the end of the game. But again, an extra 8 to 9 health right at the end of the game can win you the game. So
Yeah, I don't think the plot's bad. Compared to some broken stuff, maybe it's not as good, but the plot's actually pretty good. And like Beacon said, like I think people are trying to build these support decks, trying to rescue Han to extend their health in the late game. And I think sending the troopers might be just better for people that are trying to do that, because it almost does the same thing, but I don't know. It might be easier to pull off, and you're still getting like another character, some amount of health, some amount of dice for 4 points.
Sure, and if we're talking like just in terms of like a support swarmy type deck, at the end of the game is
Right.
when you're going to have 5 or more dice in your pool that you can get the damage. I guess the other question is though, if you have 5 or more dice in your pool towards the end of the game that are showing damage, you're probably in a position to blow them up. And does the 8 or 9 health matter, right? Like, so
Yeah.
that's where I kind of struggle with that particular build of it.
Yeah, it might be win more, but sometimes it's what you need. I don't know.
Yeah. See, and that's where I struggle because, like Beaconfire was talking about, you put a bunch of upgrades on someone, they die, right? But you put a bunch of upgrades on someone, you roll out the dice faster and maybe get to use this before you're already in a position where they have no removal and they're staring down 10 damage. So
Hmm.
it's just kind of, I don't know. It's interesting to me, but um,
I
the
think
main
this
of
is appropriately costed and is deceptively good. The reason I would say that is that while it may on its face seem like, oh, I'm going to play this with troopers, it's not really required that you do it. And
Yeah,
in
exactly.
fact, it may be just flat out better to just try and construct your deck in a way that pumps out small dice as quickly as possible in order to overcome what Beacon is suggesting, that and that you may not be in it could take you a while to get there, and so on and so forth. But I mean, imagine throwing out conscript squads, punch daggers, hunting rifles, and just trying to get stuff out there.
yes, imagine running a bunch of cards. If you pay 4 points for the privilege of running a bunch of bad cards.
Hmm.
Well,
Exactly.
you're not wrong. The question is like, what is the right mix of things that optimizes around making the most out of everything you got? And I'm not sure what that is, but that's why I would say this is deceptively good. It does not on its face seem like oh gee, how am I going to do that? But I think if this is one of those where if it were probably any less than 5 dice, then it would be able to be done too fast and too quickly, and suddenly it would be like, why are we playing? Why? How did you just get essentially a 37-point team? And that just seems awkward. I mean, you could theoretically see this flip on the first turn. It's not impossible, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
So, and that's why I liked all red, because I've got logistics and motivates and stuff. You've got to get that money, get the money removed, and it feels really bad.
Yeah. But I think there's something to this. I don't fully understand this one yet. This was not intuitively obvious to me.
Well, that's a great transition because I'll tell you what I do understand, and that's fives. He's in the middle, but I'm going to go straight to him because he is the main event. He's got 9 HP, so more than his weaker friends in both terms of health and, in my opinion, power level. And after you activate fives, even though he himself has no dice, he rolls a clone trooper die from legacies into the pool, or 2 if he's elite. So on its face, it just seems like, okay, this guy's a clone trooper with 9 health for 11 points, and he's elite. Sweet. He also has some free reroll abilities that you can read there. Uh, but the problem is his activation isn't actually rolling his own dice. It's an after effect, an activation effect that rolls dice from the set aside zone, which is already powerful because if he dies, they stay in. And it combos with Fateful Companions. So, have you ever wanted to pay 1 resource to double your dice? Because this may be the guy for you. Lanza, you got anything on that?
I don't want to talk about it.
I mean, on the downside, they're pretty terrible dice, even though you get to re-roll them a lot, but they are bad.
I mean, they've got 3 damage sides and a resource. Like,
Sure.
I
And
mean,
if he dies, that's all gone, and your faithful companion is going to feel worse.
well, sure. I mean, the die that are already in the pool are there, though.
Sure, but like Trandos can be like, well, screw this guy.
Well, sure, that's true.
And then where are you at? Kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or Anakin with his own faithful companions can be like, screw this guy in particular, and then where are you at?
But this guy is 11 points for Phasma.
No, I posted this somewhere earlier.
That's 13 points for Phasma, and you have to pay for it. So not quite 11 points for Phasma, because you have to pay 2 points for the plot.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't think. I'll tell you this. As far as the faithful companion stuff, it doesn't feel bad with this card. It doesn't bother me as much as it bothers me with something like Anakin. This is okay because you're paying 13 points, and you're replacing those 13 points with a character that would normally have 2 dice anyway. So now you're paying for the 2 dice, or now you're paying extra to get the 4 dice. So I don't know. It doesn't bother me as much, like Gandork said, because they're not good dice. They're not like their false dice, but the and we'll get to it
They're
in a second.
basically the same as lost
The,
dice.
I
the
mean,
two,
you
the
don't
two
have to pay
indirect
for
I'd
the
are
rather,
way
two.
I mean, I would rather re-roll the 2 indirect than resolve
Right.
it.
Yeah, and I think Zion I was talking to about like the hard part, like people aren't going to understand is that you don't want the 2 indirect, and it might as well be blank half the time.
It depends
Because when
on the
they're when they're gunning to kill your 9 health character to remove all that power from the table, your 2 indirect is kind of a blank.
But
Yeah,
he's
you're trying to spike somebody round 1.
but I mean at 9 health he's deceptively tanky, right? He's a trooper, so he benefits from an extra block from Riot Shield. He's red, so he can not only field medic, but he can first aid. And I
It
mean
is harder to do those things when 1 money every round is locked up into rolling out dice.
Yeah, but you
Yeah,
rolled
but-
out 4 dice and you might roll a resource. I mean, I
and
don't know.
he's
Sure,
he's generating a ton of dice that you can use like measure for measure with, which is free removal. I mean, yeah, you got to give up one of your dice, but if your feeling is this die sucks anyways.
I'm
I don't
not
know.
completely convinced that Wolf isn't better.
All right, well let's talk about Wolf then. You want to do your intro on that one?
Sure. Wolf is kind of similar in that after you activate him, you get to roll a clone trooper die into your pool, just one, but you also get to activate one of your other red characters. Then it says if he is elite and you control the battlefield, you can spot any number of your unique red characters to deal that much indirect damage to an opponent. So this with Faithful Companions is you get to do this twice, so you get 2 clone trooper dice and 6 indirect without having to roll or worry about rolling these crappy dice.
Yeah. Well,
So that part at least anyway, I think maybe like if you want to just front load as much damage as possible, maybe that's better because your dice can't, the damage from the ability can't get removed and you don't have to hit on it. You just get it.
well, I
Seems
mean,
pretty decent against Mill.
Right.
so
Yeah, against Phil, it's like you're not going to win, Phil.
so
I'm doing
and
6 a turn.
and if you
With
wanted
no
to
dice.
if you wanted to, double down on having faithful targets, you could run 5 Wolf and a Gungan or something,
Sure.
and
But
still have faithful and just shit out indirect and dice. I don't know, like
that is a thing, but yeah, you get less. Gungan's not unique though, so you need to pack in those unique characters. for
oh,
Wolf.
he's only
the hard
unique.
part.
Yeah, you're right.
Only
Okay.
unique red characters.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I don't know, like both of those characters I think could see some fateful companion shenanigans. Wolf does have the downside though of the 8 health being just that much easier to spike off the board.
Yeah, and then there's Echo, who is basically Bib Fortuna.
Yeah, Echo's not bad. I think he's getting overshadowed by the faithful companion shenanigans because he can't use it like nearly as well. But he's not terrible. I don't know who his partner is though.
Especially because like you have to run him elite to even really get his benefit. So it's not someone you can't really jam him in at 8 and care about his ability.
Right. But yeah, like if you're getting like you're running him and I don't know, like Legacy's Obi at 19 points, getting 4 Obi dice every turn is not bad. Like
Oh, you're saying with Faithful?
no, just him by himself because he rolls both character dice.
I thought it
and
was just
when he
8 after you
If
throw
you-
this character.
Yeah,
in.
if he's elite.
Control the
If you control the battlefield.
Yeah,
every
if you
Oh,
roll
I
the
see.
battlefield,
Okay,
he's
I see.
elite,
Yeah, I got
so
you.
can
I
do
got you.
twice. So you could.
But that's
you
where
could-
Faithful's actually bad with him because I actually watched somebody who was playing.
Yeah.
They were trying to do a mill deck with him and Leia and something else, and he was like, "Oh, I'm going to use Faithful," and I'm like, you can't.
You have
roll
no
it
more
multiple
dice,
times."
right.
So
Yeah,
I
you're
was like,
out
that was
of
pointless.
dice.
So,
Yeah,
But
I
yeah,
don't.
Plus, Echo basically does nothing if you don't have the battlefield, and he's
Right. Like I think you have to run him 2 character, and you want some big ass character with him that you're like, I'm gonna get 4 of those dice every round, and you just deal with it.
So
Kind of thing.
But so
he,
why
he
does
was he was my favorite call. I was playing Rebel Trader, and he was playing the new Han, which we'll get to, and K2, and that plot. And so when he did it, I was like, Echo would be perfect here. So I called Echo, which basically ruined him. But yeah, that was an interesting Echo because of the fact that you get to roll out Han or K2, which is
Right.
pretty good.
Yeah, I just lost my train of thought though, and I had something to point out.
Were you gonna mention that the name Echo is funny because he basically copies a character?
No, I wasn't. What I was gonna say is why is pairing Echo with a big guy, with say a big guy to clone his dice when Hero don't have as typically as dangerous of big guys as villains, better than Bib
Sure.
Fortuna, who never took off. And granted, Bib has to roll the special, so I get there's
No.
an extra layer there,
Bib,
but
yeah, Bib has a very terrible die, and that you actually have to hit on. So I mean that's a big part of it, I think. But no, you're not wrong.
yeah. I guess I outside. I mean, Obi-Wan's not a bad example, though. You're gonna be sad when you keep hitting or a bad choice. So you're gonna be sad when you keep hitting those $300 because you
Or
can't
just
afford
keep hitting
them.
the one shield.
Right.
I
So
hit that
Yeah.
side every time.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. My boy's 5, so I don't care what you have
Yeah.
to say, but
No, it makes me sad that the new Big Luke is 20 instead
yeah,
of 19.
that's
Because
true.
that would be super baller to get like his dice isn't great, but give me 2 of those and his power action, and
Eh?
yeah, let's have fun.
You could run that.
Better
You could.
rivalry.
I was gonna say bitter rivalry though, not a great card, and you still have either a 13 health Luke or they're doing
6
two.
health arc trooper Echo.
Right,
Great.
right. Who? But then your Luke's untouched. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that, Norman. But
It's probably
Yeah,
not
6.
great.
Yeah, probably not great. You're right.
all right. So
These are all very thematic. I like that.
Oh, it's
The
yeah,
Echo with
super
the
thematic.
the 5s. You're getting a bunch of dice out, and Wolf. That's pretty cool.
yeah,
Red characters like Little Red Riding Hood and the big bad wolf.
yeah. Okay.
Okay.
On that note, we're gonna move on to the bounties.
And moving on to bounty hunters.
It's
So-
the truth.
So this is one of those cards where only the A side can really be played. The B side is
Yep.
only coming out with the A side, similar to Obi-Wan. It does have team up for each unique bounty hunter, so not a particular one, but any unique bounty hunter you can use to get a 1-point discount on that character with this plot. And this card I think is really interesting. Starts out on the table. It's not active really until you have another bounty that you can put on someone, because it's after you deal melee or range damage to a character with a bounty on it. You may exhaust this plot and flip it to attach to that character. The flip side, in my opinion, is nuts. That attached character cannot be activated. You have locked him out. And if that player your opponent wants to activate him, he is paying you $1. And I don't know about you guys, but I like money. Let's think this through, right? Like the downside, I guess, so to speak, is you've got to draw that other bounty to begin with, get it out, and get things going. But I think the upside's really high. Has anyone played around with this?
Not yet, but I'm excited to with my Asajj Dengar.
Yeah. I
'Cause
tried
it
to.
fits.
Right. No, I tried to build a Saj Dengar with it, and I wasn't quite getting there. Like for me, just the blue and yellow doesn't quite work well for me. I was actually thinking you could run it. You could run it either with. I was looking at. Let me make sure the points work out before I say something. 315.
Well, while you think about that,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I
I'd
like,
like to ask about
Asajj
the
Dengar.
Asajj Dengar because you're basically going after putting captured on the dude that you're already putting a bounty on. But Asajj, isn't it that she removes a die when she does damage to the character that has a bounty on it?
Right.
Is that right? So is that a pseudo non-bow there, or do you feel
No,
like
well,
that's
you
actually-
have to have a bounty on the character before you can attach this bounty to it.
Yeah, sure.
So you already have to have a bounty on there that'll kick Asajj off, regardless. My big thing, though, at least in my consideration, is any means necessary is actually really, really good. And
Yeah.
I don't know if this is better. And I think any means necessary has been hugely underrated for anybody that's seen me play that deck. Just in the die fixing plus the 2 unblockable damage. But the thing that would let me do if I swapped it in is I could take out maybe a bounty or 2. Maybe I could get away with running 6 bounties instead of 8, and then with the extra money, I could probably more reliably play some upgrades or something else that did more damage. So that
Right.
would be the way I would think of switching it.
And
And plus, if any point they're broke and they can't activate that character, that is a beating.
That's what I'm saying. Like the control potential from this is just
Yeah.
incredible. So yeah, what I was thinking was I wanted to do something, and you only get, if you do it this way, you only get 1 discount because you're only going to run 1 unique bounty hunter. But I was thinking you could do something like Forlom and an IDT, just because their dice are very consistent, especially with the IDT focus, and it opens up options like focus fire and that sort of thing to burst someone down on top of hunt them down. Or you could do something like Phasma 2 and Boba Fett 2 with this plot, also kind of aggressive. So I don't know. I'm not saying Asajj and Dengar is bad or wrong, but whenever I've tried to build that deck, even before this plot, I look at it and I'm like, I can't get a list. I'm happy with the upgrade suite and the event suite and all that.
You just need to see my version. I shared
No,
it.
no
Maybe.
upgrades.
I don't even run
No
upgrades, and I go ask Poem. I still kicked his ass twice last Friday.
I, I
I've been
mean,
on the end of that as well. So
all right, maybe I
it's,
will
it's
have to
good.
look at that
It, it,
version. But
it, it, like, I know, Zion's like, how do you do damage? And I'm like, no, the deck is stupidly good because the out of hand damage is so hard to interact with, and
the
it's just going to
the
hit you.
problem is my Asajj only has a one melee, a disrupt, and a blank. So or discard, whatever she has. Like I don't know.
Yeah, it's
I don't know.
my version with no upgrades. I want to see her 3-for-1 because I'm just saving all my money for it, and I'm like, just give me that 3. But while I'm thinking about it, the other thing I want to talk about this card that I haven't done yet, but I want to look up. There is a suite of cards events that let you remove money from your opponent or make them lose money, and those become really interesting with this because the problem is you're going to attach this to a character that's probably already activated, and you need to think into the next round. So if you
Yeah.
get the claim on the battlefield, I need to go find a card that removes their money before they can pay to drop it, and then it's insane. Like if you
Yeah.
can pull that off and guarantee that they can't activate a character or they have to work real hard to activate a character, you're probably going to be winning that game real fast.
Yep.
Interesting. Yeah.
And just to be clear, I mean, I think it's fairly clear, but for anyone who's not, give the player that controls this downgrade one resource to flip it. That means the person who brought the plot to the game, not the person
Right.
who's got the character the downgrade is attached
Yeah,
to.
downgrades are always controlled by their owner. And also, like one thing that's a question on there, it says any player can use that ability. So you can technically pay yourself one resource to remove it, which is basically you have to have at least one resource, but you net gaining no resources to basically flip it back over and pop it off a character. I've had
Yeah.
people ask me about that.
Yeah, and
Hey,
I guess I mean I think that's mostly just that was the easiest way to make the mechanic that your opponent can use it. But I guess there are some situations where it could be
Well,
useful.
well, sure, because you don't. If the guy dies, then you want to
Yeah,
put it on the next dude.
yeah, you
Well,
could pop it off before you
well,
kill him.
yeah, that's true. But now, but even if you kill him, doesn't it just pop back to a plot?
Nope.
No, if you
Because it
kill
would
him,
leave
it's gonna
play.
get it's gonna leave play because it's a downgrade on a character.
Oh,
And
if
all
this,
those
yeah,
things.
yeah, okay, all
It
right,
sets
Yeah,
aside.
yeah, okay, all right, okay, all right. Well, yeah, I guess that's something. Just give them more time to stare death down the face while you move your plot around.
yeah.
All right. That brings us to that was a villain yellow plot. Now we've got the hero yellow plot. Rescue Han Solo, who also has a playable B side on its own of a 13 point, 12 health, fairly decent character. Rescue Han Solo has the very thematic team up of Chewbacca, Lando, Leia, and Luke, which gives you a lot of options, a lot of different versions of those characters as well. And I'm going to let Lanza take this one since I know he's tried to make it work.
Not have I?
I thought you didn't you play a game or two last night trying to make
Oh,
this
I
work?
played. What deck was that? Infant's Nest and something else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he didn't want to talk about that.
Yeah, that was a terrible
All
deck.
right, well,
Okay,
so
well, let's. I mean, I can talk about the
sure,
card though.
go for it.
I
Go
think
for it.
it's extremely cool. So basically, let me pull up the Twitch page. So yeah, first you have a team up with it. You've got the Chewbacca, the Lando, Leia, Luke. You don't necessarily have to use any of those to get this to work. Um, so the action is play a card from your hand, cost equal to number of resources on this plot. It cannot be decreased under any circumstances. Um, I'll talk about that in a second. And then place one resource on this plot, and then if there is 5, flip it and exhaust it. So there's a ton of different things with this particular um, plot that have to go your way to get it to work. Um, it is a mission, so
You're
you
saying you have
do
to plan?
yes,
Oh,
Mm.
plan a rescue. Huh.
yeah.
Cool.
So you do have it
Hmm.
is a mission. So if you want to run covert missions to tutor one of those costed cards that you need to get there a little bit further, you can. The benefit of it, getting it there, is 12 points. So you get Han. Um, the whole deal with this is extremely thematic as far as because like Gandork said at the beginning, when you flip a character, all the tokens go with the character. So when you flip Han, those 5 resources go with him. But when he dies, or each time you activate him, you do lose a resource, or you take a
You
resource
gain a
off
resource.
to gain a
Yeah.
resource.
So he's like
Lanza
his
can't
own
even
merchant
read the
freighter.
cards. It's
Yeah,
great.
so he's like his own merchant freighter.
Yeah, wow. So Lanza was trying to make a deck to play this Han and thought Han had a drawback in that part and not a benefit.
Right. Well, so but the drawback the
Yes.
drawback is if he dies, you lose all your resources. So and
Yep.
your opponent gains all those resources.
Which
But
can
I
be a
mean,
huge swing.
you're getting 12 points for 3. You're getting a 12 health character for 3 plot points if you can pull it off. The sequencing is the problem. You've got to, there's I guess there's a math in there, or you can just YOLO it and just build a deck. But the problem the problem I have with it is that when you get to those 4-cost cards, how many do you need to run? Are you going to have it in your hand at the right time to play it?
Right.
Because it's there's an order to things.
The 4 costs make it suboptimal because I started playing a lot today with it, and because I've played with it before and it was just kind of janky. I hate to say it, Satine droids.
Yeah.
Put it in Satine droids.
Yeah.
I mean, you got all your 0 cost removal, all your your hired muscles, your fickles, merchant freighters if you want, and then I did like resistance crate speeders, entangles, all that stuff, and then
You have to they trade a C3PO die for this though.
Yeah,
You run
just
it on
one
single die.
It's 4 die start. I had no problem getting it out, and I only barely lost 1 out of like 5 games, and it was just barely because I could not roll damage to save my life at the end.
I don't know, like the fact that you have to go in sequence makes it really hard. Like if it was something like action, play a 1 cost, put a resource, action, play a 0, if you could do them in any order, I'd be all about this plot. But like
Yeah.
Lanza was saying, and Beaconfire to a lesser extent, when you have to draw them at the right time and play them in the right order, it just becomes very difficult.
The covert missions helps, I would assume.
Yeah, I feel like that's a huge part of this.
But the problem is the problem I have with it is that the benefit is extremely like this is probably the highest benefit flip that was released by any means. I mean the Anakin is huge, but I've felt like in the handful of games I've played with that, if you do get to flip Vader, it feels almost like a win more situation anyway. If you get to that point, because you are re-up in health, you're grabbing 5 extra health, and then you're getting just
You just defeated one of their characters.
yeah. You just killed one of their characters. You just added 5 health to your pool, and now you have no blanks on any of your dice. So I mean, it's gonna. Well, I mean,
Not
pretty
exactly.
much. Well, not exactly, but
if I roll 5 blanks, I can't resolve them all as melee.
Yeah.
well, but you're not having. You know what I mean. But the
You know how I roll.
exactly. This has got the biggest reward to it though, because of the 12 health, and his dice are really good.
Yeah.
So, and he's generating money. But
he's also a pilot.
But see that's why I like Satine droids with it, because like it doesn't feel as awkward. So like I waited until getting the 4 is the most awkward part, but I mean like I'll go ahead and play my easy pickings. I'll go ahead and play my entangles, even though I've already played my 2 or my 1, and then I'll just make that money back. And then when that Star Viper or Millennium Falcon or I actually started putting Hellfires in there, whatever you want to put in there for the 4 come up, then you can play those eventually. And I don't know, I had no problem pulling it off.
I don't know. I mean, you ask me, you just play Han. And I understand it's obviously a very different style of deck, but Han's got
points for 12 health is awesome.
That's what I'm saying, right?
I mean, the character is amazing too. So,
like, and you could pair him with Poe and do a pilot type red yellow deck instead of Sabine, but
I like Luke with him.
Pilot Luke.
It's interesting that I mean, going back to this, just play Han, right? When Gandork first released his holocron, there was some question as to, okay, you're lowering Chewie's cost, but if we do that, like why did you not lower it the same amount of points? Because it lowered 2 points on the elite and 1 point on the single. And almost immediately I was like, well, and if they do that, then you have like the cheapest high health guy in the game, period. Well, guess what? This is now what we have. Like this is now a 12 health, 10 point character if you want it.
But he is a character that comes with a drawback built into his text.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a target on his back.
Yeah.
which is thematic
you
as
Which
good.
again is fine if I'm playing with Pilot Luke. I'd love for you to
Yeah.
kill Han first.
Well,
Right,
play.
right.
I would love to play this with that Chewbacca. That's a 25-point start. Playing
Mm-hmm.
what else do you play? Calling in favors for 4. So there's your 30 points, and then Mean Streets. Everything's cheap and free, and lots of aggro, and Guardian.
Hey, actually, I have a question on this, Gandork.
Hmm.
I don't think Rescue Han Solo says you can't include on a team with Han Solo.
No, well, the rules say that.
Do you want me just to mention the rules? Is that
Yeah.
really crappy? I mentioned at the
I
second.
Uh-huh.
mean, come on, duh.
That's your
don't you
job to
read
be
it?
here. That's your job to be here, Gandork.
Yeah, so Lanza asked me this, and I don't know if he was kidding or not, but it is legitimately in the rules section that if you play one of these double-sided characters on your team and they have a unique character on the backside, you cannot include the unique character on your team as well. So you can't have Rescue Han Solo plot face up and another Han Solo on your team because Han Solo's on the backside and he's unique.
Right.
I
I
asked
mean,
a lot
the
of questions
Avengers
last
went back
day.
in time. Why can't Han?
Right.
I don't understand how I can't have 2 5s. They're already clones.
There's
Yeah.
only 1 5s, man.
Yeah.
Some Clone Wars guy is going to be like, damn you, Norman! Let me explain to you. The
No,
clones, they got their own personalities from the show.
Incoming text.
No, it's,
Right.
it's super awesome. No, I mean, it's obvious that was needed to be in the rules, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's clearly.
All right. And that will move us then to the first of our gray plots, which is Choose Your Destiny, and I Will Not Turn, one of the, I think, the only card that we've seen that is a format restriction, and that it can
Yeah.
only be played in infinite format. And basically what it does is it gives you this pretty large drawback that instead of using 9 sets, guess what? You get to use 3.
Well, 10 sets now.
Well, if you count this as a set, sure. I mean, it's sure, yeah. And basically you get to use 3 sets. You get -1 point, and you get a flippable plot. The -1 is our right. The flippable plot is the payoff, maybe, where you get a resource every turn, and your die cannot be turned by your opponents. My problem with it is your opponent can flip it back.
My problem is I'm not keeping up with that shit.
Yeah, no, there's that
Playing
too.
Infinite.
Yeah. I mean, I have not. I'm gonna be honest. I haven't put any thought into this at all. A, I'm not really, an infinite guy, and B, it kind of hurts my head how much thinking I'd have to do to build a deck where I determine the best 3 things. But
Well, okay,
The card looks great, though. I think the card is awesome. I love that scene from
that yeah, the backside is
yeah, it's
just
phenomenal.
terrific art.
Yeah,
It is-
No,
can we
the-
just talk? Out of any cards in Destiny, these are the most puntastic names for cards.
yeah,
Yes.
though.
The front is literally choose your destiny. Wink, wink. Pick your 3 Destiny sets, and the back is literally I will not turn. As your opponent's trying to flip it back.
I think there is one competition for most, I guess, punny or thematic. Well, no, not punny, but definitely thematic card. I always loved
roll
oh,
on.
No, the one with Vader where it's Luke. You either have to either lose your hand or join them, basically. Like that is the most. But yeah. I don't know. This card's a thing, but
Said I am your father.
yeah,
Okay,
maybe.
a couple observations on this plot, just to be sure. Number one, we're used to the idea already of running in trilogy. So as a first approximation, something you could do is just realize that I can play essentially a trilogy deck in which those 3 sets will work together relatively well. You will be able to build something out of it, and it will it'll work together, and then you get an extra little bonus out of it. Okay, so there's that aspect. The trickier part is indeed, of course, if you played the cards from all 3 sets this round, flip this plot. Okay, right? So here's the thing: if your opponent flips it back, in order to get it to the other side again, you just need to play another card. So in other words, as long as you can this is like oversimplifying it, I guess.
That's if it's in the same round.
In the same round, yes, it'll restart on the other side, on the other side of the round.
Then your
Right.
opponent just has to play one more.
Right.
So it's oversimplification, but so long as you're maintaining card advantage on some level, this becomes not unrealistic. Now,
So here's the problem with the trilogy mindset, though, right? Like, yeah, I want okay, that kind of makes sense, but I really don't want to run Awakenings trilogy, but I really want Force Solution.
So you can do that.
You
That's
can.
fine.
But
I mean, look, like Spirit had some broken crap in it, man. I mean, your favorite card ever is in that set,
yeah, well,
right? So I mean, if you want to run Force Illusion and Overconfidence, there you go. Make sure. Oh, and Force Speed. So you got like, there you go. I mean, that's like you can make this work for you if you really want.
Okay, so I'll ask this because I like to, organize stuff. Is there a reason to run an event centered around this particular card?
what do you
Or do
mean?
you just run an infinite event
I think you
or
run
an
an infinite
infinite
event.
tournament if somebody wants to use it?
Oh, you mean yeah? I see what you're saying. Like an actual event, not an event card.
Right.
No, I don't.
I
I
wouldn't
think
do it.
you. Yeah.
I think you're losing viewers the longer we talk about this card.
They just went up to 24.
You had to have
Now-
viewers to begin with. No.
All right. I
There
agree.
are
Let's
24, and 23 of them are Lance's mom.
let's move on to a more
Bye,
interesting.
sweetie.
Yeah,
I'll
there
see
is
you later.
Let's move on to a more interesting
Goose.
plot. I think United and We Stand, which is kind of a card that at one side is a zero cost plot if you just run it non-elite, or it can become an elite plot and much more powerful. Its restriction is you have to be a mono-colored team, which is kind of a cool thing since we know that often having more colors is strong. So this kind of gives a counterbalance to that. The one side is sort of like a pseudo Vader Terror to Behold. Once one of your dice is removed, once per game, you can roll it back in. And if you happen to be elite with this plot, you can flip the plot and get We Stand, which is kind of a pseudo Admiral once per game. Uh, I've tried to make it work, but I'll let you guys talk about it first, then I can kind of, I guess, in the deck building section, share what I've done with it.
Okay. Well, I want to go first on this,
Sure.
at least very briefly. I even thought we should be talking about this card first over the if talking about all the cards in this set. We should talk about this first because I think this has arguably the biggest or most far-reaching deck building ramifications overall. Even if it is not necessarily the most powerful of all the cards in this set. And the reason is that this presents to you an entirely new reason to go after a monocolor deck. And that, as Moof said, if you're going mono, you're restricting yourself. And this gives you another very interesting way of trying to like leverage that type of strategy. So it's like you suddenly converge upon one type of thing in order to gain this type of little advantage. I have yet to. I do not understand yet where this best fits, but it is also flexible enough. It seems that there's probably a lot that can be done with it.
I mean, I think like the nice thing about it is if you're going mono, hey, you can use it, and like just earlier, like with the new Luke, given the points discount, if you did go with the new Luke and a Yoda, then you can take the 1 point plot with it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I don't know if it's busted, but it's at least it gives you an advantage. I've always wanted a zero cost plot, or a 1 cost plot.
Right.
And there's things that are going to change over time. There's going to be new cards that we're going to get through our committees and things like that. So I think it's cool to have a zero cost plot that if we do ever have that situation where we've got a mono deck at 30, that we've got something we can just throw in there to help. It's the backside that's really interesting.
No, while we're talking about, I think we got to preface this that your opponent actually controls the whole thing. So
Right.
more often than not, this card just says your character dice can't be removed.
Right.
Because they just aren't going to. Like if they remove your character die and you're going to ready, they'll just not remove any of your character dice.
Right.
So,
Or wait
which
until
is
you
still
don't have.
strong.
Or
Yeah,
wait until you don't
have
have.
money or cards.
Right.
Yeah.
But like that's a big effect.
No, it is. It's a big effect,
When-
and you pay a big cost being monocolored. But yeah, it is definitely a big effect.
The thing that I find interesting about it is the front side, United, is any die, but We Stand is character die, right?
Yeah.
So the other thing to be aware of is once you flip to We Stand, your opponent can just say, "I'm just going to remove your upgrade or support dice after your character dice."
Yeah.
So you really have to think about in deck building, like, do I have a big character that can really leverage this and that sort of thing.
Like I'll play it with Big Vader and be like, I don't care about your Viper probe droid.
Yeah, I'll play it with Big
First time
Vader.
you Viper probe droid me, I'm just gonna freaking ready.
Yeah, play it with Big Vader and no other character,
Right.
right?
I can get a battle droid in there,
Nope,
or a.
Nope,
monocolor.
mono.
Oh wait, no, never mind. You're right.
There's no
Nice to see
7.0.
Zombie.
Nice
The
to see
zombie.
zombie.
Nice.
Will do nothing all game but give you that plot.
The
That's
zombie
all I
attacks-
need, baby.
Are the little zombies witches? Are they considered witches?
Yeah.
Yep.
They
You play
are.
possessed in that deck.
Possessed. Boom.
All right, new meta Lanza. You
They're
solved
not gonna
it.
do that though.
Although, can I point out, Vader does not look like he's standing. It looks like he is falling in that picture.
Bad camera.
Effective, man.
camera angle. Yeah.
I don't even know. Is that supposed to be when he's blocking Luke's lightsaber when Luke swings for Palpatine?
I don't know.
No.
Looks like when Luke kicked him. It was like
Yeah.
pissed off and kicked him off.
Ah.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, it's definitely interesting, and I think definitely at 0 and 1, it will see some play, but the mono restriction definitely makes it harder to fit, especially because the people that you think you want to run it with, like Big Vader or Big Bane, or I should say Big Bane, but Bane, like just have so few monocolor pairings that really make you want to run that, you know? So, but anyway, so there's one more card, a card that I don't really want to talk about because it really hurts my head. But there's a battlefield, and it is Mortis Day and Night.
I'm with you on this. I have no idea. How to
Yeah,
play
I
it.
have no idea. Does anyone? Beacon, you're a smart guy.
I don't. I mean, I guess if you had like a super fast mill deck,
Uh,
I don't know, because you could flip it back and always
Kind
be
of
yellow.
reminds me of like fighting
I
pit on
guess.
some level. And I know it's a fundamentally different mechanic, but it's one of those that it sort of hurts both of you. And so I kind of wonder if this goes in like a Vader deck.
Or an Afro deck.
I guess if your meta is Ewoks and
Yeah.
you can't stand them,
Uh,
do one damage to all the characters.
like I just have no idea how to effectively leverage this card.
Yeah, I don't. I have no
So,
clue.
yeah, I don't know, but it's Mortis. That's cool, right? That's where
Yeah.
the Force gods are from, and a dagger comes from there.
Well,
I
the fact
think.
that it has to flip, I mean, that's the thing. Like, if you could keep it on one side, I
Right.
don't know. It's
You
crazy.
if
No,
you're
you
good
don't
at
have to
claiming,
flip it on the claim though.
No, but then
a flip.
but then after the upkeep phase, it's
Oh
gonna
yeah,
flip.
yeah.
That's the thing. If you're fast at claiming, no matter deck, you could leverage one side of it more than the other, but you always
Right.
got to beat the person to the claim. Because
Yeah, but see, but if you're a damage dealing deck, do you want it on damage? I mean, because like I mean, I guess if you get way ahead, if you're a very fast aggro deck, I don't know. That's where I'm like, mill's the only thing I can see, but it has to be super fast, and the best mill decks right now aren't super fast.
Minion says fast 2 wide versus 3 wide. It ends up as deal 1 to yourself, 3 to them.
Yeah, that's fair.
right, yeah, because like if it's on the Mortis Knight side, and you beat to the claim and you don't flip it, and then the next turn when it flips in the upkeep, you just got to beat them to the claim and then flip it first before it hits the upkeep phase again. So you can keep it on any side you want as long as you're always beating them to the claim.
Well, I'm gonna be honest. I just can't think about this card. So if you bring it to a game against me, I'm just gonna not pick it, and you get 2 free shields. So there's your
Cool.
strategy. Bring it so you get 2 free shields.
I'm just waiting for people to build decks that are good so I can copy them. Because I am my
Yeah.
head hurts on all of this right now.
But yeah, Minion's right though. Like someone
yeah.
could abuse the shit out of this, and it's probably going to be him.
Exactly.
They'll have the deck that claims it's always taken. You take, like you said, it's 1 to you, 3 to them, because you're always healing one when you claim first on the Healy side.
Which Minion will be on late night this Friday, so there you go. You'll get
Oh,
to see
well.
Minion and McBobber making some.
Oh crap! Yeah, that'll be
It's gonna be
some
a
must see TV.
Slow down. Yeah. I don't know. I think Minion is right, and that kind of speaks to my point on some level. Is that this is a and you guys are all saying kind of around the same point, which is that the fast deck takes the advantage of this most, and probably the deck that can deal damage is the way that this is really going to be leveraged.
Like I could see this in, like, I know Lanza mentioned the new Han Chewie deck with like calling in favors or whatever. That deck can be real fast with some of the ambush stuff. You can even play like the Millennium Falcon that activates both characters.
Mhm.
And the advantage is that how much health does that deck have? 25?
25 with a 4-cost plot.
25 on 2 characters though. So when you start, grabbing that and dealing the damage to both players, you actually have the health advantage to stand up to most other 2-wide decks. So
Yeah.
even if it's 2-wide on 2-wide and you're taking 1 to their 2, you're going to come out ahead most of the time.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. But and I think it's really cool that we have a battlefield like that kind of alternates effects or has different effects depending on what's going on in the game. It's just not something I can wrap my small brain around.
It's
But
tricky.
so anyway, those are the cards. Those are the kind of freebies that we got from FFG, the transformation cards. I have built a few decks that I'm going to kind of talk about general ideas for. None of these decks, other than maybe one or two, have I really gotten reps with. I'm sure all of them can be improved greatly, but I do want to just share these as ideas for the decks that you guys can take off. And we've already talked,
Concepts.
and we have already talked about some of them, and I'm sure Norm and Beacon and Lanza and Nick can tell me what I've done wrong in these decks. But here's some ideas. So the first thing I've got is, and I didn't flash. I apparently didn't put.
This just turned out to like a play testing session for you.
No. I'm just sharing ideas. I want you guys to tell me what I did wrong, or for other people to see it. So actually,
That's what I just said.
yeah. Apparently, I didn't include the deck I like the most, but oh well. So this is my idea for Rainbow Anakin, or at least the blueprint of it. You can see I had a drawn Anakin because this was before database was updated.
Accurate.
But it takes advantage of the shell kind of Lanza was talking about with Hoth Trooper, so you have the extra ping along with Anakin. You get
It's
Rainbow.
all fuzzy.
Is it all fuzzy?
Yeah.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, those are your glasses, Lanza. You
Well,
need
maybe
new
that's
ones.
me.
For instance, the stream's probably buffering because you're trying to do the Zoom call and watch the stream at the same time.
Yeah.
And you're on
that's-
Alabama internet. Yeah, Alabama
Yeah.
internet. So,
My internet's awesome. Oh, there it is. It's better now.
but
Okay,
so,
so this is
It's like
similar
that
to
Anakin looks like a stick figure. What's wrong with it?
but so it's just kind of a general idea. A couple of things that work well in this deck, I think, are you have things like Steadfast to help keep Anakin alive as he's pinging people, and certainly, if you can get off first round, it's very aggressive. You have things like respite and into the garbage chute to take advantage of your Hoth Trooper.
Respite.
Respite,
It is respite.
It's respite.
whatever, respite. Um,
And so much spite for people that say respite.
I stole the pushing slash idea from Norm.
That's a
I
good
think
idea.
that's very strong with Anakin.
So we should explain what that is because
Yeah,
we talked. Yeah, let's
go
talk
for it.
about that. So the reason why pushing slash is in there is that okay, if you are activating Anakin in order to kill a dude, you are not going to get his character dice. What this allows you to do is potentially get one of those dice to go off before you actually initiate his after activation ability and kill the guy. So one of two things can happen. Either you're going to damage or get some sort of benefit from one of those dice, maybe damaging another guy, then killing the dude, and and it's done, or it's reach. So if you've got two resources, then for instance, you could activate Anakin. You roll that four damage, 4 for 1, spend 1, do 4, do another 2. You've got essentially from six health remaining, you can flip them.
Right.
So is this where we drop the extra Satine die and add the Fateful die? Or add the Fateful points?
Maybe. And so the
just
deck
really abuse it as much as possible.
I don't know.
The deck I realized I forgot to actually apparently create an image for this stream is the one I was just playing earlier, which was Old Han, so Han 4, Old Man Han, Anakin, and Faithful Companions, just going 2-wide aggro with it. Just because you just kill stuff. Han has a bunch of damage dice because he can flip his money to damage, or he can use his money to pay for the Faithfuls. Could also do it. You have an extra point that way, so you could do it with Pilot Han, the new one. But yeah, I don't know. It's ideas. And then, like I said, I think I mentioned earlier, Norm was just playing regular
Well,
15, 15,
3.
right, without
Yeah, he was
Faithful,
playing
right,
Fun 3.
which is also very aggressive. So for my play style, 2-wide tends to work better for me. But certainly, if you wanted to go Rainbow and 3-wide, I think this is a good starting shell.
Yeah, I don't like this rainbow setup. That's all I'm saying.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
Is there a, like, do you just not like that it's kind of spread out among
Yeah, like
It's
Power.
you're going red for only field medic and the crate speeder, and that just doesn't seem like a big enough payoff for. Like, I'd rather have another aggressive character with Anakin.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's fair.
well, mine
So,
has the titles and the UR commands and things like
well,
that, which I
so
thought was
so let me tell you the other trick here, Gandork. And if you're against the deck dealing indirect damage, or someone who decides to snipe your Hoth Trooper, I have no qualms about transforming Anakin by slaughtering my own Hoth Trooper.
Yeah, that's true. You do have that, but I don't know. I think that stuff ends up being too cute, and I
Yeah,
think even Lanza's stuff where he like wants to do the reset is too cute. I like the pacify. I like the steadfast. I like most everything here, but just give me two aggressive characters, and I'm
well,
just gonna
yeah, sure,
aggro
no, that's
all
true.
day.
And so that's why I do think that the three Hans may be a good option, either a
Right,
three,
right,
four, or
right. Yeah.
five. So depending on how you want to build it.
What
Um,
Han did you play with Anakin? You played
I
the old man Han.
I played Old Man Han just because he can focus himself to damage and
Yeah.
helps support
With
the cost of Fateful. But
what plot did you play? Oh,
Fateful,
that's right,
Fateful, yeah,
Fateful.
yeah.
That's right.
So
It was 29
it was
points.
29 points. You could get an even 30 with the new Han with piloting Han, but he has a pay side. Anakin has a pay side. You're already like paying for Fateful. I just worry that it may get kind of clogged there.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I also have kind of I don't know, a sample or a concept for a Vader deck with Zuckuss, who got a point reduction. There's a little prettier picture of Vader that I pulled off the internet rather than just draw a stick figure. Um,
Good job.
yeah, but so it just does some things. The main thing I wanted to kind of showcase here, or share as an idea, is hired muscle becomes a lot of damage with Vader's power action. No matter what side you're
Mhm.
on, it's 3 or 4
Sure.
damage. It's basically a fist that costs 1. So yeah, I mean it doesn't double roll out, but as far as the values of the die sides, otherwise this is kind of probably just the worst version of an old Terror to Behold Vader Yellow deck. But I really had no other ideas what to do with this Vader.
I like this a lot. I've been messing around with trying to make Vader yellow today a little bit, and it feels like I've really overcosted stuff. Whereas what you're kind of going for a more appropriate valuation, and getting big stuff on the table kind of over time, rather than like, all right, I got 2 Death Fields and 2 Vader's Fists. Let's go.
Yeah, and I think Lanza tried a Death Field Vader Fist type build too.
How do
I
you feel
just
about that, Lanza? Like,
I don't feel too great about it.
mm,
I think that I tried to do Watto with Elite Watto with Vader, just screwing around with it because I wanted to try to play Fist and the big stuff like that and have the money to pay for it. But I don't know. It's like I want the Fist out there, but I'm thinking that you've got to run him with 2 dice and maybe Retribution. I don't know. And then if you're gonna get that deep into it, maybe you just give up the Fist and you delve big stuff on him like Dark Sabers. And I mean, a Death Field on him is gross. I mean, if you can
yeah.
yeah.
resolve the indirect like as melee. But um the other issue with it is that you put those big upgrades on Vader, you resolve them, and then you end up with his dice. Maybe you get a situation where his 2 disrupt is sitting out there and they don't have any money to disrupt. And now, that should have been the 3 melee, but you got too cute with a big upgrade on him. So
Yeah.
I think that there's probably something very strong with him that is not as cute as we're trying to make it.
Well,
Um,
so it could be something as simple as just going mono blue, right? With either Sentinel or Praetorian and running United We Stand. That's
but
30 points, but I just don't know if 3 dice is good enough in there.
I don't
I,
know.
I
It's
think it
you're
might
going to
be.
struggle on money. The deck, like even the big, like the Terror to Behold Vader, never felt really that broke because of his 2 resource side, and
Right, but in this case, like what we're trying, we have a we can make a little bit of a bigger side character, and so like having even Zuckuss and leveraging your Dead or Alives, and or using Watto, for instance, like allows you to probably go for more money. Another one that Or just
Trando?
Trando?
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking at. I'm like, just give me Trando. I'm
I,
still playing
I
the Dead or Alive.
I thought about it, but then
I'm
you
just
got to put in
dying
more bounties, and I don't know.
No, you don't. You just that's a bonus. Like you don't have to play that.
Oh
much.
no! And I'll tell you the reason I went Zuckus over Trando is just because Zuckus can actually make $1.
Yeah,
Trando
Burrito
doesn't,
could
but
make $1, and I was fine with him just being.
maybe.
Well, but like you can, like another option if you want to go red, for instance, is you can play like Wat Tambor, do some goofy stuff with that.
You play the
There's-
veteran stormtrooper. He's like 9 health and has 4. That 3 indirect goes 4 melee.
That was the first thing that I thought of was like doing that with the veteran stormtrooper and turning that 4 indirect into 4 melee seems pretty good. But if you're going with Wat Tambor, for instance, he's got 2 resource sides, so play logistics and go to town.
Yeah,
you could play the Dark Advisor, and United We Stand, and then if you hit the special in the Dark Advisor, you can draw 3 cards and use 2 of those 3 to reset Vader on the flip side of the plot.
That's curious.
That's not good, Lanza. As your friend, I'm gonna tell you that's not good.
Yeah,
We're
they're
friends
gonna
now.
see that.
We're friends. Wow.
Upgraded.
100% serious. If I was going mono blue, I do Sentinel Messenger, like the best
Yeah.
8-point blue
Yeah.
character,
Uh-huh.
and then United We Stand, and I think that actually could work.
Yeah.
And
I
he's
was
got
like,
melee
why,
side.
why are we
He's got-
talking about the advisor? It's always messenger over.
Yeah,
He's
Right.
got 2 melee sides, or 2 melee, 2 focus sides. He's got a resource.
Uh-huh.
Top deck of Forsaken or anything like that. I think
Yep.
that's perfect.
Yeah.
Sentinel Messenger and United We Stand. Is
I'm
great.
building it now.
All right.
Yep, just
Well,
do it.
so United
Do
We
it.
Stand is a good segue because that's kind of the next model deck I made that I was actually excited about until Norm killed me 3 times in a row by out aggroing me. So this deck actually came around because I couldn't think of a blue pairing to do with United We Stand, but I'm like, it could work with Villain Red. That's kind of strong. You can see my American flag there for the United We Stand.
Nice.
But so the idea here was, it's exactly 30 points. It's 2 decent characters that you wouldn't
That's
mind
funny.
having stand up, and Admiral with United We Stand is really interesting because on the United side, you can roll Admiral back in if they remove it, right? Because that doesn't have to be a character die. So if you hold your plot and you're patient with it, you make a very hard to remove Admiral. What I ultimately found was and I didn't play this deck too much, but into Norm on his Anakin Han, he just did way more damage than I was doing.
Yeah. I like the idea of a red deck or some sort of mono red that does United We Stand, but I get worried that the best line of play for your opponent is just to eat the extra activation from you as early as possible and just get it out of play. Because it's not as scary when your characters aren't as huge.
Yeah,
We tried it with I did with Thrawn and Krennic last night, and that was kind of fun.
That was
But
interesting.
I'm bad at Thrawn.
Well,
Just keep
yeah.
playing Thrawn on TTS. It annoys me so much.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. That's the thing.
Adds 10 minutes to your game.
It's too
Well,
much work.
That's the thing. And plus, just with these characters, they're both leaders and all that. So is my thought on Troopers, but I don't think it's that great. But just ideas for We Stand so that you guys can take the general concepts and hopefully improve it. Next, I've got Fives Forever. There's Clone Trooper once it pops up, and it's just the idea of
Scourge
being
of all things.
Yep. It's just kind of the idea of being, 2 wide, rolling a bunch of dice and do a bunch of damage before your opponent can react. One of the things on there that we didn't talk about earlier, aside from Fateful Companions, that combos well with Fives is Through the Pass. Because Through the Pass is pay 1, and when you pay 1, activate a character, and then you can pay as many dice as you rolled when that character activated to reset them. The great thing is Fives isn't rolling dice when he activates; he's rolling dice after he activates. So you pay 1 and reset Fives. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually think Through the Pass is actually fair and balanced. It's the people part that
Right.
It's an event that does that, maybe once,
right.
twice. As a special event thing is fine. Every round with Faithful Companion.
Right. It's like the difference between Instigate and Sabine 1, right?
Exactly.
On demand is a problem, as a swing turn it's not. But that's just kind of the things you can do there.
You also didn't mention Trading Room.
Oh yeah, I do have that
Secret
up there.
tech.
Yeah, I mean I don't think it's secret tech, but it's a bunch of extra rerolls that you probably isn't going to benefit your opponent. So there's
And
that.
then I play Shock Tactic. I've been spamming that.
Right.
Everybody's been.
And plus, like, I just really love that on top of all the trooper dice, I get stormtrooper dice too because I'm Mega Blaster. So there's that. Measure for measures for days.
Well,
Yep.
well, we're hitting almost 2
Oh,
hours,
I was
and,
gonna say
and we're probably,
you're missing one card in this deck though. Because it's hero, you can play the stupid strategic planning to ready your Mega Blaster trooper.
Oh, sure, that's true.
Come on.
Yeah, I
Needs to
don't
be
know
in
if
there.
that's worth it for the money,
It
but
is.
maybe.
Oh, it's
Okay.
absolutely worth it.
All right.
Yeah, strategic planning for 1 to get 3 more dice into the pool.
Sure.
Yeah. While you're doing all this other like through the pass bullshit, you might as well throw that on the pile.
Yeah. And then I did have one other deck queued up, but it's not that interesting, so we can skip over it. It's just the new Han with Poe, just for pilot red yellow. Nothing innovative there. So like Lanza said, though, we are getting close to 2 hours, and I don't want to go too much longer. So we do have a couple of other things we want to talk about. First being, what are these new cards going to be for the meta, and in particular, do these cards matter? Are there enough of them? Are they strong enough? Anyone have any thoughts on that?
well, I want Gandork to talk about this fateful stuff. I mean, you posted something on Discord today that you spoke to Jeremy about it. Do you foresee this thing being an issue, or do you think that it'll kind of settle itself out over the next couple of weeks?
I think it's probably pretty high on the watch list of something that definitely could cause big issues, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised if it got addressed in the future. But I don't know. There's still a lot to play out, and I want to see it in action. But yeah, I'm pretty worried about it. I think Jeremy's pretty worried about it too. But I don't know. There's still just let's see how it plays out for a little bit.
The other thing to keep in mind is that those of us that have been playing on the Gandakron have kind of removed the foam of Trandos and that kind of high-powered aggro from us. So, like a lot of the cards that combo with Fateful, Anakin, who's hurting himself really fast, or Fives, who only has 9 health, could just die to Trandos round 1. So there is the possibility that sort of balances itself out. But
Did he say anything about that? But that maybe that was the reason why he left Trandos at 11.
Nope. No, I got nothing that I can really share on that front
Oh.
for his reasoning behind that, and
Yeah.
I just know he's aware of the faithful companions thing.
Okay.
And he's just like I said, just watch, wait, and see next update if it's a problem. Which the big news there is we hopefully will be getting more balance updates. They're not
Definitely.
done yet, so
yep.
they're still paying attention.
There's a 200 card set coming out eventually, right?
Hopefully.
But so let's talk. I'll pose it this way: what is more impactful to the meta we've developed under the Gandakron? The introduction of these transformation cards, or the reversion of Trandoshans? For me, I think it's Trandoshans are going to be more meta shaping and more impactful. But I'm happy to be either wrong or hear corrections on that.
I honestly don't think Trandos are going to step in that hard. I think they'll kind of be back in the picture, but I don't think it's going to be like they were before. I think there's some aggro decks in the new transformation stuff that you can build that gives Trandos a lot of problems that they just don't want to deal with. So I don't know. We'll see. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
Trando with 8 health doesn't want to run into Anakin either. Like, I know you're talking like Anakin versus
Faithful is
it.
just
Well,
poor.
they're going to kill each
Yeah.
other though, right? So like, I don't know. Then
Until
it
he
becomes
yeah.
then it becomes who wins, Han Solo or a Trando and an IDT. So
Yeah,
Right.
but you've got healing on the health side, and you got better removal in some situations.
sure.
Well,
So
and
I mean, you could.
I think Poem said it there. The face the enemy, not being able to use them together. I think that's
And you don't get desperate measures. That's
Yeah.
gone.
Yep.
Like, people could play a support deck that can actually build up a board versus Trandos and win on the back end because they aren't punting something for nothing early on.
That's right.
Does anyone think there's any particular archetypes that were already doing well or being successful that gets a boost from either just subbing in one of these characters or adding in one of the new plots?
No. Well,
I mean, piloting.
I was gonna say Afro really likes the droid plots, the flippies,
Yeah.
demolition droid and the sweeper droid. Just because it kind of plays into that death by 1,000 cuts, and they generally have a good balance of cards to pull it off. many times.
Here's a question, and I don't know that the answer is yes, but is there any thought for anyone that maybe has been playing Rule of Two to just say, why am I playing Rule of Two when I could play United?
I think
And
United.
they have
I think yeah. I was gonna say if you have the point, I don't think zero cost United is
That big.
better than zero cost Rule of Two.
right.
Right.
Yeah, no, I'm probably there with you. It's just kind of an alternate, I guess, thing you can uh, slip in there. So, but
No,
yeah,
I mean, you would rather. I mean, do you want that die back and then lose your plot, or do you want to resolve a die every round for +1?
at least until a character dies. But yeah, no, that's fair. That's
Right.
definitely fair. So, yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what shakes up. I think these new cards are really interesting, but my personal take on them is after a couple of weeks of people just trying things completely centered around them, they will kind of fall off because they are by their nature cards that you have to center a deck around. If that makes sense, like they're not
These are very
things.
convergent deck building
Right,
ideas here.
right.
Well, and it's always like it is in a new meta. I mean, we have new cards. We're excited. Everyone's gonna play them. You're gonna build a deck, and you're like, I haven't lost with it, but you've been playing all the other
Right.
transformation decks, and then you're gonna run up against a,
The more optimized
yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
Right.
and then you're gonna lose and realize, oh, that wasn't
Yeah.
as good as I thought.
All right. Well,
This is
sorry,
also
go on.
kind of why I think that Vader is gonna has potential to have impact because that power is non-trivial.
Yeah.
That's a good power action.
Like I think that a straight up Vader deck is we don't know what that is going to totally look like yet. We've got some ideas, but it certainly is possible to see Vader red. It's certainly possible to see Vader yellow. I mean, we didn't even mention the fact that like remember you put a Darksaber on Vader and suddenly every single one of those sides is like 4 or 5 melee.
They're +3.
Yeah. I mean, the minimum
+3
side on
and
that.
always melee.
Right.
Exactly. So
Gee, thanks.
I mean, there's all these weird like. I mean, granted, it's once a turn, but still, it's like this is a non-trivial problem.
Right. It makes what it does is it makes every die a threat, which is
Yeah.
kind of interesting. So.
And so I think they're. I don't know. I really feel that Anakin and Vader are really big threats that we're gonna have to keep. You're gonna have to think about that when you're up against them. You're not just gonna be like, okay, I got something that'll maybe deal with this. You're gonna have to really think about how
Right.
you're gonna play out those.
And once a turn, you're forgetting about my Vader Emphasis Marauder Moxie deck
Oh yeah,
to do the power
I mean,
action twice.
come on.
Nice.
Yeah, those 2 dice are really going to get you far, but
Right.
Anyway,
There.
Anyway,
so we're about to wrap up. A couple of things I want to mention. We are still doing weekly Thursday night tournaments. If you're not on our Discord, join us. Contact Lanza or myself, and we will be happy to give you information to sign up for those. We do them every Thursday, starting at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 Central. You can do the rest of the conversions for yourselves. The other thing is
No, they can't. They really can't.
the other thing is that on July 25th, we will be having our first Tournament of Champions, which is going to be kind of an invite-only event of former tournament winners. Then part of the bracket will be filled out by our Patreons, where we didn't have enough tournament winners that were able to register. We are planning to stream that. I think Gandork said he would likely do some casting for us. Cruisin mentioned he may assist with that, even though I'm not even sure he exists anymore. And what I'm hoping to do is kind of set up some people to stream a game on that, stream a game at a time, or take shifts on that. And so hopefully we'll get some viewership on that. And I know Gandork's also got the Art of History Top Cut still going. Is that correct?
Yep, we're up to the top 4.
And do you
then,
have do you have those next matches, their stream schedule yet?
Only one of them scheduled, which is going to be Saturday night, which is Poem on his Thrawn Praetorian Guard versus Eric Wainwright on his Elor Bale Annie Long-Term Plan Mill. I don't have Knight and Malicious Malix match scheduled yet.
Sure. And I know, so we'll be on the lookout for that. And I think we're just going to go around the horn for closing thoughts, I guess, and we'll go from there. Norm, why don't you take us off? What do you want to say goodbye?
Goodbye.
All right. Lanza?
we could play Power from Pain in the Vader Messenger deck.
Oh my god.
Got it.
All right. Beaconfire, any closing thoughts?
I still think Rescue Han's going to be really good.
Yeah.
That's my thought.
All right. Gandork, what do you want us to take away from you?
I don't know. God. Let's see. Oh, I should be putting up August league sign up soon, so pay
Yeah.
attention to that. That's going to be starting probably.
Hey, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody real quick, what are the top 4 decks
Oh
for
yeah,
for July
the,
or June?
yeah, the top 4 decks for June are we got Moloch on his Afra Sentinel Messenger Elite IDT. We got Knight on Palpuato. We got Poem on Thrawn Praetorian Guard, and it's Eric Wainwright on Elor Bale and a long-term plan mill. So, yeah,
Isn't
like
that
hmm?
isn't that illegal for Eric to play something that's not all blue?
I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess. Like, yeah, he's really branching out of his comfort zone. But yeah, no, like this top cut has been very like the decks have been very like varied. Like it's a really good meta, and now everything's gonna get shaken up. So yeah, like that'll be the thing to watch. So like next league, like all the new cards will be legal. The top cut for the July league is gonna be all on this new stuff. So get ready for that in a couple weeks. We'll be seeing that coming down heading into August.
Gonna be lit.
All right.
But
Well, we certainly appreciate you all joining us, and appreciate Beaconfire and Gandork stepping in to fill some boxes on our Zoom call. So have a good night, guys, and I hope we see some of you tomorrow night on our Thursday night tournament.
Take care, guys.
See ya.